wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quench the thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic, with this logic you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic. Go! To last with the webs I'm weaving, I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas. No, never stop competing, yeah. I've been doing this, I'm on it. I just wanna be iconic. Sipping on a gin and tonic, got me going off when I'm on this topic, yeah. If I ever play, I want it. You know that I'm always honest. Stay away from those who are toxic. Keep them out your face, no way, you don't want it, yeah. Don't try to drain my energy. The enemy is everything. It's mentally, unhealthily spreading like a rare disease. But I won't let it get to me. I don't need your therapy. I can leave a legacy of leading by intensity. Come on, we can fight this. Freedom is priceless. Spread just like a virus. Living in a crisis. Do you feel courageous?
Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to MK Headlines, episode number 73. I'm here with my co-host, furtheram, next to Randy, Tom Stakes, and a very special guest in Joey Stakes. How you guys doing?
Doing great. How's everyone else doing?
Awesome.
Excellent.
We're doing good, and actually, shout out to Tom. He just got engaged, so shout out to you, man.
Congrats, dude.
Oh, you got engaged?
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Awesome,
yeah.
man.
On Sunday.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Appreciate you. Yep.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, congrats, man. Congrats.
Congrats,
But
brother.
Romantic. We just have a romantic stream now.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Love
man.
is in the air.
Welcome to the other side, my friend. Welcome to the other side.
Appreciate you, Randy.
But first, before we get started, I'm pretty sure everyone already is. Please subscribe to Joey Stakes. The guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. The link is in the description, and it's also in the chat. So please subscribe to him before we get started. So, Joey, is there anything you want to say before we actually get started?
Oh, I'm happy we're doing this finally. We have a lot to look forward to. We have some moves we've already, made this free agency, and then now really going into the draft. And it's been a little quiet, past couple weeks, but we're gonna see what's up Howie's sleeve, see what's gonna happen. So should be interesting.
There's so much to talk about. And just broke today, Devin White has requested a trade from the Buccaneers. So, Tom, I'm going to start with you. So the Eagles go out and trade for Devin White.
I mean, there's a lot to consider here in terms of the talent and the potential upside. Sure, you're in a Super Bowl window. You probably are looking to add any talent, especially at a position where you're not spending a lot right now and you have inexperience. But in terms of the compensation, you really don't know. I know he's looking for a new deal, and I could see the Eagles being interested, but it's another one of those guys that's similar to C.J. Gardner-Johnson, where even if they do acquire him, he's probably going to walk in the offseason because they're not paying for that kind of position and what he could get. So he's probably looking for a team that he can re-up his value with, and the Eagles are a great team for that, but don't get too attached if we do get him because he's definitely a candidate to hit free agency after this season. So.
Yeah. Randy, what about you? Because I saw your comment on my short.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the cupboard's bare in the sense of the linebackers that we already have in house when it comes to, Hassan Reddick, Nakobe Dean, the Johnson boys, as I like to call them, Kyron and Taylor, and then Christian Ellis. So I mean, again, those names aren't as pretty as a Devin White for sure, but I mean, like Tom just mentioned, Devin White's also looking for a contract. That's never been our GM's MO. Obviously, other than going out and getting Hassan Reddick, but that was a different story. hometown boy type thing. Again, didn't see that coming. But again, like he said, if he does come, don't get too attached because I feel the same way. He'll probably end up just trying to re-up himself, get himself fresh for the market and on a winning team, so to speak. So, yeah.
I was going to say like the same thing with Gardner Johnson, but then he went to the Lions. So I can't say he's going to a winning team. And what about you, Devin White?
I think they pretty much nailed it in the coffin. I'm just going to keep it short and say I agree with both gentlemen. I think it's that, but I would just go with my opinion. I don't think that it'll happen. I don't see Devin White in Philadelphia. I'm just going to say that.
Didn't he like comment when with
It was
what is that, Brandon Graham's Instagram or something? Didn't like
Greedy Williams.
Greedy Williams.
Greedy Williams.
Oh, that was Brandon Graham's. My bad.
Yeah, they're friends from LSU. They played at LSU together, so they
LSU boys.
Yeah, so they have a connection. But Devin White just wants to get paid first and foremost.
Yes.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, though. I mean, look at his numbers, boys. I mean, shoot.
How old is he? 25.
He's only 25.
26,
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Damn. So Joey, I guess you agree with the rest of the guys?
Yeah, like the one thing I'm kind of tired of is giving away draft capital for players we're only renting, and we already did that with Robert Quinn. We did that with Chauncey Gardner, even though it was a backloaded contract, which I could see why Chauncey was maybe pissed off because of just the what he was getting in certain years. I think with Devin White, yeah, great. I think a really good balanced linebacker that gets good run support and a Sean Desai type coverage guy, as well. The tag is the only thing I'm like, I don't know if they can rescind the tag. The tag is trading for a guy on a tag is not great because I think the Eagles have no control over giving him an extension while on the tag. So they have to wait. And with the promise of Devin White, they would have to wait until the year is over with and then have to get an extension. But we all know that, we're not very high on getting linebackers in the draft, especially at high draft picks. So I think there's a possibility where he'll take a shot, but I don't know. I mean, they could get it done, but if he wants an extension, I don't know. I'm kind of over the whole thing with teams, with players flirting with us, and it's happened. Yannick Ngakoue was probably the worst one that happened, and I think they'll take a shot at it, but I don't think they can get anything done. What are you going to have to give up? You don't have 4th, 5th, 6th round picks this year, so you might have to give the most I'd give up for him is maybe a 4th round comp pick, or at least a 4th round pick next year, whatever the case may be. So
yeah.
Maybe.
So I just saw on Twitter right here that Devin White is due $11.7 million in his 5th-year option.
Yeah.
Dang. I don't know about that then.
The tag messes everything up. So since they
Yes.
tagged him, it just now it's either like Tampa needs to pay some of that to trade him to a team. I don't know how it's going to work. But.
Yeah, right.
It's his 5th-year option on his rookie deal because he was a 1st-round pick. So it's a little different than a franchise tag, but it's a team option that they exercised so that they have him. And I think that messes with the leverage for sure. I don't think they're going to be able to trade an $11 million linebacker to someone for good compensation. So, yeah, they're going to have to pay some of that, and they're going to have to figure out, if they want to take pennies for him because he's not going to bring in a big, 3rd, 2nd. I heard people in my mentions talk about I would trade a 2nd round pick for him. Like, 2nd round pick? Are you crazy? Like, no shot.
Yeah, right. No way.
That's like
I can find a linebacker. There's linebackers
pick.
on the draft ready to go.
The number 10 pick.
We can have 4 years with the guy. We're only getting this guy for 1. No, you're right.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
it's taking a 2nd round linebacker.
They have no leverage.
No,
It's gonna
y'all
be
are
a
crazy.
5th-round
Who
pick.
said that? Woo.
I mean, it's crazy because Jeff Okudah just got traded today for a 5th-round pick.
Mhm.
Right. So you think about it's a young player with upside, but he's had some, shaky years up and down. So it's kind of similar to that. And that's a way more valuable position than a linebacker. So I don't think Devin White gets more than a 5th or a 6th round pick.
And he was even taken in the 3rd round, so he was even a higher pick than what he was given up for. So you're right.
I thought the whole motive, like last year, not this year, was like we were flowers trying to grow in the season. Remember that whole thing with the Eagles bringing like Flowers and I think even Tom, didn't you dress up like a flower?
I
Am I
did.
not mistaken, to the tailgate?
I didn't, but they had at the
It was someone. And I'm
The
sorry.
necklaces, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That's what we do in the draft. We don't give away picks for those people. We find someone in the draft and we try to grow them and create value. We don't give away a second round pick unless it's really, really somebody that we can say, hey, he's young. We can have him for a quite long time if he proves himself to be this person that we want, that we can't see potentially getting in the draft this year.
Right.
Anyways, there's a lot of draft cap in 2024. Can the Eagles utilize that in the draft for a free agent? AM, you want to start out with this one?
Yeah, I mean, just what Joey said earlier, like we have those picks to maybe help. I mean, I would only give away like a 4th round pick for Devin White. I wouldn't give a 2nd round, but that's something like I was talking about. I actually was the one who created this question.
That's why I put you on the spot.
You gotta go. I was trying to see what their takes were.
What do you mean exactly by that for a free agent? I don't really understand. Like, you mean to trade? You mean
yes, to use one of those picks from 2004 to get someone this year,
right?
Or potentially, like you say, move up in the draft to utilize one of these picks. Yeah, could you see that happening?
Yeah, for sure. I've been in the back of my mind, the whole offseason now. I've been thinking about DeForest Buckner from the Indianapolis Colts. We really need a D tackle, and the Jeffrey Simmons thing was just not going to happen.
So close. That was so close. I wanted that.
Too much money. I mean, they probably would have gone after Javon Hargrave had they had the $22 million for a D tackle. They would have probably brought a guy they're familiar with back who produced for them last year. And him leaving led me to believe they're not going to make a big move for a guy like Jeffrey Simmons, though he's younger and he's better. It still was just a little out of their price range. But I think a guy like DeForest Buckner, who is young, who's been rumored to be out there, I think that's a guy you could potentially look into. But at the same time, I do think, as the weeks have gone on, I've thought that they're getting hotter and hotter on Jalen Carter. And that's who I think that's going to be. If he's on the board, you run to the podium. He's had some issues, with some of the incidents the incident he was involved in. But I think that it's kind of moving past that and bringing him into Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. And I think that you could see a potential trade up if he's in range. I actually tweeted the other day that Howie Roseman has traded up in 3 of the last 4 first rounds and the last 2 straight with Devontae Smith and Jordan Davis to get those guys. So when Howie smells blood, he's going to get his guy. And if he gets to a certain point, if he gets past Seattle and past Detroit, you could see Howie making a move up. So I definitely think that D-line is going to be the goal. And whether it's trading for a veteran like DeForest Buckner or trading for, to get up in the draft to get a guy that they really like in Jalen Carter, I think you could definitely see that for sure.
All right, Joey?
Yeah, like that's why Howie Roseman's been like 10 steps ahead even this offseason, because he's garnering, you getting those comp picks next year where you can have like 11 to 12 draft selections next year, because you're going to be on that Jalen Hurts extension. And, there's going to be about 4. The Eagles can free up cap space next year. There's no issue. There's about 4 or 5 restructures they could do next year. Will save them a lot of money. I was kind of looking at a D tackle as well, and Quentin Jefferson. He was another guy that was available for a while. I mean, he's 29, had 5.5 sacks last year, and I think you need that really good complementary piece next to Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis was actually playing really good. He was actually a good run stuffer for us. He was playing really well until he got the high ankle sprain, and that's when they signed Linval, they signed Sue, and then there's more of a rotation. Fletch needs more of a rotation. He's not the same player he used to be. He's got to play at least 35% of the snaps, and when he was playing 70, he couldn't even handle it. So Jalen Carter definitely the second best player in this draft. I mean, if Will Anderson and obviously if Will Anderson's not there, which he probably won't be, I I can see the Eagles taking him. I think the Eagles, obviously, with Jalen Carter only, not wanting to see teams, visiting teams out of the top 10 makes it kind of, I think is obviously his agent is promising him that he'll be drafted in the top 10. And maybe his pro day was alarming, the 9 pounds, 10 pounds overweight, whatever. And he's got a lot of stuff going on. I think you have that really good support group with Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis. I think they'll have a really good support group in Philly. You know how Philly is. Like, they like these guys expressing their personalities. They like their personalities to come out with this team. And, I think would be a monster move for them. I think they could trade up. I think they will, but we have to watch out now because now, the Bears seem to have a lot of interest at 9. The Seahawks now have a visit now at 5. So, I mean, if you have to move up in front of the Seahawks at 5, then I don't know. I don't think they do it at this point. You might as well get Will Anderson if you're going to move that far up. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting, but I think they have a lot of interest in Jalen Carter. I think it's a monster move for them if they get it
done. Randy, what about you?
Just like Tom, like I thought for sure the guy was like reading my mind as he was saying everything he was saying about DeForest Buckner. I agree 100% with him as well. I was looking at him, he's 29 years old, Buckner's ability to, control the action, shed into the backfield speaks to his length and his strength. Like the guy's unbelievable. He had 7 sacks last year, had gotten to the backfield for tackle loss for at least 10. So it's like imagine like him being paired up with like the Jordan Davis and whoever else is around him as well, depending on the draft, right? So I was looking at Buckner, and I definitely would use the I'm not going to say excess, but the more draft capital we have next year, I would definitely use something like that to dangle in front of the Colts to say, hey, listen, we want Buck.
Right. Now, there was a question up here. I'm trying to find it. Where'd it go? Oh, right here. What's your biggest hot take about this class? Draft class, I'm guessing. So whoever has a hot take, just throw it out there.
I got mine. I've been saying this for a while, and maybe it's not such a hot take, but I love Anthony Richardson. I think he's my favorite quarterback in the class. The intrigue, I know that C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young are more polished prospects. It seems like they're less built on potential and more built on, their pro-ready, kind of body of work. But I love the prospect and the potential of Anthony Richardson. And I just think if he lands with the right team and they do the right things around him, he could be electric, like similar to what Cam Newton was, or even like an early stages Carson Wentz, the mobility, the arm, all that. He might play a little bit reckless, kind of like a Josh Allen, if you will, but I think he's going to be an explosive player to watch. And if he lands in the right spot rookie year, he could really be a potential rookie of the year candidate for how explosive he is. But we'll see where he lands. It's usually about that more than it is talent. So hopefully he lands on a good team, but got to see how that works out.
Honestly, I have him going number 1 to Carolina. I really think he's going to just go there right off the gate. It will be funny if they do it, but I just got a dark feeling. Maybe they see like a Cam Newton 2.0.
Right.
So that's mine. If you guys have another one, throw them out there. If you know, we'll go on next.
I look at the running back since it's so deep this year. Like Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, I really do like him, and I think a lot of teams overlook him. I think he could be a late second rounder this year. I think he could be in a really good rotation. I think he's a bulldozer. I think he's elusive, and it's one of the backs. I mean, we'll probably talk about running backs as well, but I think I like those big elusive backs that are over 5'11", 209, 210 plus. And I think he will. I think even after a year, I think he'll be really good. I think when you have that elusiveness at a big body and can catch as well, I think can do a really good job. So I like Zach Charbonnet a lot going to this draft.
Randy, you got one? Am, you got one, or if you don't?
Yeah. For me, I like. I'm really excited to see where Darnell Washington goes. That Georgia tight end, that 6'7" frame, 270 pounds. Like, my God, if I'm being real. If there's somehow we could land him as our backup tight end, potentially the predecessor to Goddard, that open field, though, I'm telling you, man, God. And
I agree with you. God. I agree, but I don't know. Where he would go in the top
I mean,
10.
that's just a hot take, a hypothetical hot take. That's all.
No, that 30th pick is a luxury, though. You never know because they could take somewhat. I've been saying it the whole time. We're whether it's 10 or 30, you could pick a player that you don't necessarily need that's just going to add some sort of element that you wouldn't have the luxury of doing if you didn't have 2 first-round picks. So, I mean, Darnell Washington, I've been talking about Bijan at 10. I know that's not so popular because you like that, Joey?
I love it. I've been talking about it. I love it.
500 got merch.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. I was afraid to say it.
I know you got it.
I was going to ask you because you said you like backs that are over 5'11", 220, and he's 6 foot 220, and he runs like a wide receiver almost sometimes. So people are talking about Jahmyr Gibbs too. I know he's a really good player as well, but Bijan Robinson is just such a fluid, pure runner. Like he's just impossible to look away from the screen, and him on this offense would just be insane. I would like you can't even if you want a player that you can pick right away that's going to be immediately a superstar, that's the guy. And anyone else, he might be in a rotation. He might be this guy comes in right away and he can run for whatever you need, touchdown, everything. It would protect Jalen Hurts. It's really an investment that I think wouldn't be that ridiculous, but I know how they feel about running backs.
And it's weird because like you would think like even with the pre-draft visits, like he got brought in pretty early. Like if they brought him in late, it would be a different situation, but to kind of throw teams off. But if they're bringing him in pretty early on a pre-draft visit, it could say they have a lot of interest, but I think there's going to be 2 offensive players drafted within the first 3 picks. I think there's going to be 2 offensive players. I think there's an offensive line between 30, whether it's 10, 30, or 63, whatever their second round pick is. Because getting 2 defensive players within the first 3 picks, I feel like I don't think it's going to fix your defense. Yes, it will make it better, sure, but this defensive coordinator, Sean Desai, really needs to be creative. We can't have players bailing him out like they did last year with Gannon. Obviously, his blitz rate percentage is a lot higher. It's like 23.6%, which is great. Sean Desai, as a defensive coordinator in 21, he was top 10 versus the pass. I think he was bottom 10 against the run, which ain't great, but he didn't really have a great roster that year. But still top 5 in sacks for the year, and can create pressure on quarterbacks.
That was that great Robert Quinn year, wasn't it, when he had like 18 and a half?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you trade a pick for him and does absolutely nothing. Doesn't know how to use players. And
I'm sorry to bring back bad memories for Joey.
Eagles fans need to realize that you're not going to have, we were spoiled last year. We just didn't have the defensive coordinator to get it done, and we had so much depth, and that defense was loaded. I swear to God, it would have been one of the best defenses in history if they had a better coach there. Mm-hmm. Getting Bijan is just so different to me because, and trust me, I thought it was a stupid idea a long time ago, but then when I thought about it, why not add another, if you're going to treat number 10 as luxury, why not add a player to your offense that the tandem between Hurts and Bijan on top of having A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, this offensive line, just getting Bijan to the second level almost every play is just going to be unfair. The league doesn't want this to happen. You want to get 35 plus points on the board. I mean, what's still intact right now? Your offense, you know what I mean? And by the time you hit next year, the Rashad Penny thing was cool and all, but the thing is, it's like, I don't think I could trust him staying healthy for 17
I'm the
games.
same way, yeah.
Boston Scott's coming back as like, I'm just going to come back every year for $1 million, $2 million. Like, hey, I don't think that's anywhere else.
Call me a boat.
Plus they had him at full-time special teams. There were times during the season he wasn't playing as a running back. Then later on, they started to use him a little bit more. Yeah. So if they drafted Bijan, I think they would just have Scott play full-time at kick returner. But I think the Eagles like Kenneth Gainwell, but I just don't. And I think he had a really good second half of the year. I think especially the playoffs, he did a really good job. And I think they used him more as a receiving back, more than Miles Sanders, which I think they underutilized Miles Sanders so much. Like I love the way Doug used him his rookie year in the wheel routes and have him go out against passes and stuff, which was great. And then when Nick came in, there was still a lot of tread because they did, those 20 and 19 and 20 and 21, they barely ran with Miles and then had a really good year last year. So Penny's going to play for himself for a new contract, and Scott's just going to be here every year. So really, at the end of the day, you're going to have Kenneth Gainwell all by himself next year, and his contract is dwindling. So I feel like the Eagles have to make a move like this. Like, I think you got to score points. It's an offensive league. You got to score points. You got to get it done, So I think we got to put more faith into this defensive coordinator for what he has. How do you, I take it as, cause I'm a big horror fan. So I take this as like, you're given $26 million for a movie. It's a lot of money, and and usually these big movies will take shortcuts and CGI and not appreciate what they have and not be creative. When you have less money made for a movie, you're more creative, and obviously you put out a better product. I take it in a weird fashion like that, but I thank God, Tom. Thank God there's somebody in here that likes that idea, because I love it. Third best player.
I do. That's a great idea.
Wait, whoa, Am, what? What was that?
No, I agree.
I like the analogy used there for the horror movie, but you bring up a good point with Rashad Penny and his health. And think about having Bijan Robinson in front of Rashad Penny. And in December, Rashad is healthy and fresh. Imagine trying to tackle that monster coming in after Bijan. Like, that's a nightmare. And then you have Kenny Gainwell, who's developing into a nice little receiving back, another weapon that we saw break out in the playoffs more than anything. I mean, you just have an endless amount of weapons. But like you said, this running back group there is no lead dog. There's no reliable running back. And if you think they're going to go into this season banking on Rashad Penny to stay healthy, I just don't think that's going to happen, because they know that the key to protecting Jalen Hurts isn't just the offensive line, but it's a running back that you have to take account for, and you can give the ball to. He can win you games. I mean, you could give him the ball 18, 20 times through the passing game and run game combined, and he wins you a game and keeps everybody else unscathed because he totals 180 yards and 3 touchdowns, and it's just over with. So you're right, man. The league does not want to see that happen. It would be a nightmare to put that kind of player on this offense. And that 10th pick is a luxury regardless. If you pick a D lineman, he's in a rotation. If you pick an O lineman, he's either a backup or a guard, which you don't pick a guard 10th. It's a luxury. If you pick a cornerback, they're not starting. If you pick anything is a luxury. So if you're going to pick a luxury, pick the Lamborghini, Bijan Robinson. Like, why not?
Guy's got his own mustard too, so why the hell not?
Hell yeah.
Do you get him at 10? Do you try to make a trade backwards?
I'm going to say this really quick. We don't draft him. He's going to the Cowboys. Mark my words.
Probably.
I don't think he's making it to 6. I don't think he's making it that far, honestly. And thank God, because I don't want to see that either. But yeah, I mean, it's possible. You know how they are with those guys. But I think the Chargers, Austin Eckler wants out. I think the Chargers would jump on him at what do they pick? Like early 20s. I think somebody's going to take. I mean, the guy looks like he looks like a monster. I can't. I don't watch college football, but I stay up on it because I want to see the prospects. And I've heard about this guy all year and been watching things about him all year. And I didn't think there was going to be a chance the Eagles had, but how everything's shaped up and how it is such a luxury to have this 10th pick, it's just like adding another elite weapon. I mean, why not? I don't know if they're going to value that, but I would absolutely love it. And I'm with you, Joey. I'm definitely with you.
I can't go by the narrative like so some Eagle fans where it's like, oh, it's all about what you want. Like, there's a lot of people that are afraid, even on YouTube too. Like, there's a lot of people that are afraid to like pick a player that they want because they're afraid to get backlash from it. Me, I don't care. Like, give me as much backlash as possible. It don't matter. But it's we haven't drafted a running back since the 80s, in the first round since the 80s, but everybody was on the Witherspoon, Gonzalez train when if Bradbury wasn't going to be here, if Slay wasn't going to be here. I mean, that's probably where I probably would have went if we didn't have one of those guys.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
But you wouldn't have the Bradbury sign, which was the most shocking one to me, that he took less money, could have got 15, 16 a year, and only got 12, 13. But if the Chauncey signing did happen, we wouldn't have Bradbury most likely.
There's so many things that happened because, and you're right, they all fell into place because of.
Yeah. So like, I think for having 11, 12 free agents, on defense, which was a lot, I think Howie has done a good job. I think Terrell Edmonds is a nice stopgap player. I think he's going to play a lot better than people think. I know he only has 5 picks in 5 years, but you never know. Having two good outside cornerbacks that are used the right way, he could probably make a lot of plays. Nicholas
His
Morrow
leg's
was
gonna
another
come in
one that
handy. His leg's gonna come in handy, Joey.
yeah.
Watch.
Nicholas Morrow is another one that's I think is very underrated too. Like, was healthy last year. Obviously on the worst defense in the league, or one of the worst defense in the league last year. But
Hey,
he
they
had
played us pretty good. They played us pretty good when we played them this year.
Yeah, Morrow I think is a nice balance between coverage, and I think a nice player that could shoot the gap really well, and I think it's going to play really good. But I still think maybe you need to add another piece, maybe because I'm not a big fan of. I think Davion Taylor's done. I just. The injuries just keep popping up now, and Patrick Johnson is going to move to outside linebacker, defensive end. I don't know what they're doing with him. So I feel like
Christian Ellis. Did you like what you seen from Christian Ellis this year when he popped in at times?
Yeah, I mean he's look, when they first put him on special teams, he was just making plays nonstop. He was going crazy. But the worst part of this team right now is special teams. It's bad. It's really bad.
Yes.
So.
Is this the year that the Eagles actually use Devin Allen potentially, or do you think they?
No,
I'm surprised they didn't give him a shot. I'm surprised the guy.
I was too.
They signed him to like 3 years, like they were gonna they really want to use him, and then Covey just kept getting brought up and on the active roster every week, and then that last time they brought him up, they have to keep him there, and then that was it. I think Covey flashed. I think he was he's really raw. He's undrafted, so he's a raw player, but. I think the blocking schemes were a mess. Michael Clay is part of that Chip Kelly tree, so I can't stand him as it is, and don't know why, they gave him a raise. And I don't get what they're seeing from him. They have to go into the undrafted pool for some type of speed guy. I mean, I don't even know if Boston Scott's even a good kicker. I don't know. I feel like they need a fresh pair of legs back there. I don't know.
That's why when John Ross was available, I thought, oh, there was the perfect guy to go swipe up, but he got snagged right away.
Now to go back to this Bijan Robinson thing, I just feel like that the Cowboys might snag him earlier, so that's why a lot of Eagles fans are just going to be like, give me that, so they won't get him. And the last time we drafted a running back was 1986. God, I forgot his name.
Keith Byers.
Keith Byers, thank you. And in the second round was Anthony Toney. So I'm like, it could still happen, but I feel like we're going to get a defensive tackle or offensive lineman. So if Jalen Carter and Bijan were there, who will you take? For me, I'm going Jalen Carter.
That's tough. That's a tough one. Obviously, those are my two favorite players at 10. Maybe you trade back at that point, but I mean, I would think they would take Jalen Carter because they value it more, but I'm selfishly hoping that he's gone so that
Dude, I would love Jalen Carter too. Tom, I'm on same ship as you. I really would love, and I just want to say, I want to throw out there, I've been going around doing, I'm sure everyone has mock simulators, having fun with the Eagles and doing. I did a hypothetical simulator where I picked nothing but Georgia players and got nothing but straight A's. And not just A's, A pluses. Every single something with the defense, because most of them were all defensive players that I picked. It must be the same scheme that we have with the Eagles, and I don't understand. Maybe they're thinking Jordan Davis. I don't know why. Maybe this program that way, but I thought it was very.
I gotta try that.
What's wrong with Georgia?
All the Georgia players, no, I literally did all 7 rounds Georgia players. I didn't get more picks. I just did what we had. It was, I think, it's only 5 or whatever. And it gave me an A plus. I was like, what? That's so weird.
Even Tom, you talked about usage. Even if you draft Bijan, like they don't have to kill him his first year. Like they could take advantage of the situation, keep all these guys fresh. Especially for Rashad Penny. I think it would use Rashad Penny as a finisher. Tire out those defenses, which can maybe open up the pass a little bit, or I think it keeps defenses on their heels when you have different running backs that have different skill sets. And I think getting Bijan in here with this group, I see a championship run. I see another run this year with him in the backfield and a lot more points being scored. So they don't have to kill him this year. And once comes next year, and then they could he'll get 18 to something carries a game, just depending on what they do. But
Right.
agree with you.
And
then
like
that's-
Khalil's last message, I agree with that 100%. I wouldn't be mad either if they went Bijan and Darnell as well. They went tight end and running back. Woo! I would be a happy camper. With him in the back. Oh my God, who are you going to stop?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a situation where they are in a position to add luxury talent because of how good they are on the lines and just in general. And when you have a franchise quarterback, it makes things a lot easier. So, in terms of like the Cowboys, you think of Bijan like Ezekiel Elliott, right? Like,
Yeah.
they took Ezekiel Elliott so they could wear his ass out. Like they wanted to ride Ezekiel Elliott. And especially when Dak got in there, they were like, we need to run, we need to take pressure. This is not a situation where we need a running back to like run the team. Like you think Bijan would go to a team and be like, okay, he's the anchor to this team. He's the anchor to the offense while we develop this young quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a dynamic player who can make plays on his own. So you don't need to use, like Joe was saying, you don't need to he can take over games, but you don't need it. You don't have to have him take over games. And that's only going to create more him being fresh, it being a more valuable pick because his lifespan will be longer. You don't draft running backs that high because they don't last that long. That's really the biggest thing. He could last a good 4 years in our offense and be an absolute stud. And then the 5th-year option, I mean, you could see this guy 4 or 5 years down the line still being an absolute stud for us on a rookie contract. So I love it. I'm all for it. I'm not against anything. But really, the biggest thing I don't want to pick this year at 10th pick is offensive line because I don't you pick a guard that high. You just don't. And you don't need to replace Isaac Sayamalo.
I guess you don't want him from a Northwestern.
Would he be great? Sure, but I just don't. I think that's overkill because you can replace Isaac Sayamalo with Cam Jurgens, and you're probably looking at the same best offensive line in the league. So use the pick on something that's going to actually make a big difference, not just carry over what we had from last year. Because how much better is it going to get with Skoronski?
Yeah.
Best in the league, the best in the league. Cool.
It wouldn't shock me if they picked an offensive lineman at 10, but at the same, like I feel like, yeah, Jurgens. Do the Eagles have trust in Jurgens to start at guard? That's the question. And after this year, if Kelsey does retire, I think the only reason Kelsey came back was because he thinks this offense can still make a run. If they won the Super Bowl last year, he probably would have retired, most likely. From what it sounds like, he probably would have. So going to next year, you're going to have a hole at guard regardless. So, yeah, I've been thinking about Peter Skoronski or like Osiris Torrance at 30, or I don't know. Like there's plenty of options out there. And then Lane Johnson in a couple years might retire. I mean, he says he's got 2 more years left in him, maybe. So right tackle, we have no depth now. I mean, Jack Driscoll. We used to think when he first got here, he played all right at right tackle, and then kind of got to right guard, and I didn't really, I think he's more of a right guard now than a right tackle. Even when he took over for Lane those few weeks, he just didn't play well. And you lost Dillard to the Titans. So, I mean, right now, we really have no depth. So, I know it's tough picking a lineman at 10 when he's not starting. And it's, the last thing you want to do is redshirt, a first-round pick. And we did that with Dillard. I think we kind of messed him up a little bit when Jason Peters was here. So, and that was a heavy defensive draft, and we went offense. So, I'm not big on getting a lineman at 10. I think we either with 30 I could deal with it or that second round pick, but they're gonna have to draft somebody this year because you're gonna have a hole next year, and this way you don't have to worry about guard or if they draft a future tackle. So we'll see.
I agree with that. 30, second round, third round. I think that gives you some healthy competition in camp. If you want to give Jurgens a shot at that spot, if you want to have a little more depth. But at 10, I need a guy that's coming in right away. That's a guarantee. He has a spot. The role. You know the impact. You know the potential. I don't want to draft a guy at 10 specifically. That's maybe a guard, maybe a backup tackle. Maybe he'll compete. If you pick Skoronski, you have to start him at guard. And I don't know if that's worth that pick. I know he'll be a great guy. He's a great player, but I think you can get a solid player with that same role at 30, second round, third round. And then on top of that, you talk about O-line, you're thinking about Jeff Stoutland. The guy turned our left tackle into an elite player, and he used to play rugby. So I'm not concerned with him getting the best prospect. He could turn a solid prospect into a really good player. So that's kind of my mindset with that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So what about Nolan Smith? Would you guys like him at 10 if he's
No.
there?
I don't want him at 10. I would trade back, but I do love Nolan Smith. I'm a big Nolan Smith fan, so he's not my top 2 pick choice though, for sure. Him and Edge is up there, but I want Jalen Carter, Bijan Robinson. Those are my top 2. But Nolan Smith's go. I mean, if they're gone, I don't think Bijan's going to be gone, but if Jalen Carter's gone, trade back a little bit and have your pick between one of those edges. Can't lie, I don't know too much about him. I'd love to hear what you got, if anyone has insight on, other than some of the things I've watched and read and things like that. But I don't really have crazy insight on these edge rushers behind Will Anderson. So, yeah.
All right. Randy, what do you think about Nolan Smith?
Yeah, I'm again just like hate to sound like a broken record, but I'm just like Tom. I like him, but I wouldn't take him at 10. No.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys like like Miles Murphy and Will McDonald. Like there's a lot of good like rotational, really good defensive ends that would really help us. Nolan Smith is obviously statistics don't really stand out too much. It's really, and he's he had a good combine, ran the 4.3, really quick. And I really like how Georgia used him because they put him out in that wide 9. They put him like all the way outside of that tackle to really get that one-on-one. And he's got that first step of explosiveness, and can really pick his poison when he wants to rush to the inside, the outside. He's just really quick. I think technique is going to get him really far. I think he's going to bulk up a little bit more, but I love his play. I just think he's more of a trade back candidate, and maybe even the 30th pick. Maybe I wouldn't even.
That's what that exactly. And I don't mean to be interrupting you.
No, you're good.
But this one was totally supposed to be the 30th pick. This wasn't supposed to be something we were talking about with the 10th. I put this.
I just said 10th.
I know. We're supposed to be talking about this as the 30th or 30th pick, not the 10th. I don't.
Yeah, I just said 10th because we were talking about the 10th.
Yeah, this was supposed to be the 30th.
He seemed to be a guy that's rising up the boards behind Will Anderson as like the second edge. But I like, the idea behind what Joe was saying and Randy was saying in terms of just trading back or really taking advantage of the depth at edge. Miles Murphy's a guy I was going to mention as well. I've just been, hearing a lot about the edge rushers and how much depth there is. So, 30 is definitely something where you could probably flirt with getting a good edge rusher. And, we'll have to see. But, Nolan Smith definitely rose off that combine for sure. Yeah,
even Lucas Van Ness, I think he's got a lot of upside. The problem is he was just a situational, defensive lineman. So I'm not really, and his statistics were great for like when he stepped in, could play DT and defensive end, which is pretty good. So you can move him around and however team wants to use him. But as a situational guy, I'm just not into it too early. Like I think down the line at 30, maybe even past to the second round. I don't even know if he's going to get drafted in the first round. I don't know. But it should be interesting. I don't know.
Absolutely.
It just, for me, I just think we should go defense because we needed one more stop. Hey, for me, I want Jalen Carter. I don't want to get a running back that high early because if you look at Ezekiel Elliott, cut. You look at Saquon, franchise tag. I go on and on. Like, you don't pay for high money anymore. If you have a good offensive line like we do, then I wouldn't be mad getting Chardonnay in like the end. I'll get him at 30 because that's basically a second rounder.
Here's the difference of why this is a whole different thing when the Eagles at 10. This is a different story because usually teams in the top 10 are rebuilding, have bad rosters, bad coaching. The Eagles are the best team at 10. Okay. Mm-hmm. Saquon Barkley had a really good rookie year. Okay. And then really hasn't done much since because he's been injured and was drafted to a team that had a really bad offensive line. This is where it's different when that's why teams shouldn't take a running back in the top 10 because their offensive lines are usually horrible.
Right.
And this is the team where these players in the draft are like, man, if I get drafted to the Eagles, man, they were just in the Super Bowl. Look at that. Like even offensive players are looking at it. They're probably like, taking their teeth on it. Like this is a team where you can get quick success very early. Even in a rotation, who cares? But know you're going to be the future of that team regardless. But that's why, like, if the offensive line was bad or we were just a bad team, then that pick, Bijan would make absolutely no sense. It just wouldn't do anything. That's the difference between Saquon. It's what I mean. Like, I think if Saquon was on a different team, I think he would have been more generational. He would have been just something different. But as of right now,
I just want to say, this is the rebuttal side of us that would want to go all defense and didn't even really want to think that Bijan was an option or whatever. But listening to you and Tom talk about, how dynamic he would be with the players that we already have, with the offensive line we already have, I'm almost starting to think that Howie and the head office are starting to look at that 10th pick as like one of the biggest free agent signings we're gonna make.
Exactly.
And it's like, listen, we could put this guy, plug him in, and he'd be an instant success. And like you said, he doesn't have to sit on the bench and learn, or there's no learning. Like, you're just gonna come in, you're gonna be behind one of the top offensive lines in the league, and you're just gonna give the ball and you go do you, homeboy. And like, I gotta be real. Like, I was totally on the defense side, but I think you motherfuckers sold me.
I talked about earlier with the running backs. Look at the running backs that in this. What Sirianni has been interesting. Running backs over 5'11", over 210 plus. Trey Sermon, obviously, I think we should have gave him more a shot. But, than 2 snaps in one game. But it is what it is. Oh my God, on practice squad. What's his name?
Got him. You need to get that one on your.
Kennedy
you call that thing?
Soundboard?
No.
Guys, just let him finish.
Kennedy Brooks is another one over 5'11". They like those bigger bruiser type elusive backs and guys that can receive the ball as well. Jalen Hurts might have a big. Who knows? They've been really going towards Hurts for a lot of decisions too, and who knows what they might do. Just remember, Bijan and Jalen Hurts have the same agent in Nicole Lynn, which is really, really interesting. So I don't know. Like, we're just dreaming right now. Like, this is what the excitement's all about. That's why the draft is all speculation, rumors, smoke, all that stuff. But and then
I will say I haven't seen any tape on him, so I got to go back and watch a little bit more of Bijan because I've been looking more on the defensive side. But now that you sold me, goddammit, I got to go now and watch some more Bijan.
And people say Bijan can't be a receiving back. That Gibbs might be better, but
okay.
I think Bijan's great. I think Bijan's awesome. If you throw to him on stride, I've seen him on routes. I mean, he's fantastic. You throw to him on stride and with that speed he has, I mean, it's crazy, man. It's nuts.
He's like powerful. He's like a slasher. I mean, I don't know anybody take it. Like, there's been people recently saying like, oh, Jahmyr Gibbs, this and that. I think Gibbs is a great player, but like, you can't argue with Bijan Robinson. The guy, like, what do you see when you watch him that tells you that he can't do something? It's insane to me. It's the same reason I wanted Dalvin Cook in the 2017 draft and they took Derek Barnett, and Dalvin Cook went 30 picks later. So I guess I can't argue with it, but I'm sick of seeing, I'm not sick. I like developing guys. I'm not going to say I'm sick of it, but I want to see a guy that steps in day one and has 150 in week 1, 150 and 3 touchdowns. And we're like, golly, this guy could be one of our best players as a rookie. Like, that's what I want to see. Look, I get, smart teams draft trenches high, and I always say that. But like Joey said, we're not in that position. We don't have a need. It's a unique situation. We don't have a need on the offensive line. We have some defensive line needs, but they're, that you can plug them up with other things. They've already signed some depth. You have Milton Williams, who you're counting on. You signed Kentavious Street, who you're going to count on to have a bigger role. These are pass rushing specialists, kind of younger D linemen. And if Jalen Carter's there, I'm not going to argue with picking Jalen Carter because I think he could be an absolute stud too. But if he's gone, and you're thinking about edge rusher being a guy that can make an impact or an offensive weapon, go with the offensive guy because they're going to make a bigger impact. They're going to be visibly successful from day one. And you're not going to have to worry about, well, where does he fit in this rotation and can he get up to speed? You plug Bijan in. I've even said the JSN from Ohio State, grab him. But I would rather Bijan personally. I don't think you need to pick another guy to throw the ball to as much as you need someone to hand the ball to and be a lead, reliable back. And, you know, Mitch, you mentioned Saquon and Elliott, but they gave their teams 4 good years, 5 really good productive years, and that really helped their team. Now, Saquon had some injuries, and that's always a risk, but Ezekiel Elliott was a monster.
I'm just thinking about him being in an Eagles Kelly Green right now, and all of a sudden going up against them damn boys from New York, and all of a sudden their Saquon's doing his thing, but it's like then Bijan gets the ball and it's like, move aside, cuz it's my turn, and he just lights them up. Like I would just be losing my. I'm getting his jersey if we draft him. I'm putting
look at the signs. Like when McCaffrey was getting drafted, the Eagles want to move up and get him, and then last year they tried trading for him at the trade deadline. So it's like they were looking for some type of premier type back. They were looking for that guy. We need a blue chip player that's going to start right now. None of this, we got to wait a year. This is why Howie did a 180, which I think there's a lot more in the background that we're not seeing. I think Andy Weidel was bumping heads with Howie. I think Jeffrey Lurie was bumping heads with Howie on a lot of these picks in the past, even though some of these picks could have been on Howie, but the last 2 drafts have been monstrous. And as much as I don't think they're going to draft another, first round pick receiver again, which I think that would be the shocking one for me, really. The Quez Watkins situation, whatever you guys think about that. But yeah, dude, like a blue chip player, man, they need to get a guy that comes in right now is gonna explode on the league with this offense. And who doesn't want to play with Jalen Hurts right now? I mean, really, it's just.
And the fact that he would walk in with that not only that blue chip pedigree, but he'd walk in with that, like, I'm about here to do some swagger business kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like
he's got Bijan like off the field
together.
Bro, Bijan off the field, like how he carries himself, like he's like Jalen Hurts mindset and a running back. It's really scary. Like with them two together, all they'd have to do is nod their heads at each other, and boom, they're in business. They don't have to say any words.
It's giving me Devontae Smith vibes, like right off the bat from what Tom and Joey just said. Like you say how he's just so ready. We're gonna see like a show, just like we've seen from Devontae Smith from day one. It's gonna be touching toes right into the end zone, right down the line. He's all the way, bust up the middle, no problem, touchdown. It's going to be fun to watch. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's why it gets me excited. I don't know if we should take that 10 or not. Maybe we can move back, but maybe if that's the decision we make. It excites me. Y'all make me excited.
Here's another reason too. Travis Reck had said Hurts rushes more than our running back. And that's another thing too, because getting Bijan now, it's going to take, you don't have to, having Hurts' legs is a luxury. Him carrying the ball in his hands is a luxury. And it's going to take less pressure off him. Not even that, but less times he's going to get hit during a game too. He's got 3 running backs at his disposal, or 4, 3, they're not going to have 4, but at least 3 with Bijan in there. So maybe they don't have to do as many of those QB sneaks this year. Maybe, you use this offensive line and just ground and pound, just like how the Cowboys did it for a long time, and then just run with Jalen Hurts if you want. You can do whatever you want. I mean, red zone, they should be scoring at so many points. I mean, it's going to be disgusting how this offense looks if they get him. It's going to be nuts.
Yeah,
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you're about to invest $40 million a year into Jalen Hurts, you do not want him running the football anymore.
That's right.
Tear that back, and those inside. I mean, he got hurt against the Bears because he ran a bunch of inside zone reads, like he was running between the tackles, and that's how they condense on him and they whack you, and that's what they want. He can run when he's got everything in front of him, gets out of bounds, protects himself, but running inside zone with your quarterback in the NFL is eventually going to get him hurt, and that's exactly what happened. So it's an insurance policy on Jalen Hurts as well. And the question on the screen, why would Bijan get carries and Miles didn't? Well, we could talk about Jonathan Gannon in this Super Bowl. We could talk about the defense letting us down, but how about Miles Sanders? I mean, that guy was not ready mentally, not ready to play. The minute he got hit and the ball squirted out, and the first hit of the game, the first hit, he ran out of bounds, stretch run to the outside, gets hit and fumbles. And I said, take him out. He's not ready for this game. I knew it. The minute I saw that
Super Bowl,
I knew it.
Leeway lost that yard. I remember what you're talking.
He was a non-factor that game because he He's not big enough. He's not tough enough. I'm sorry. I like Miles Sanders. When
Mhm.
everything's going well, he's good. When the holes are there, he's good. But he's not a tough runner. He's not. And it has nothing to do with size either, because Shady McCoy was a short yardage. When you watch him back in the day, he would find a way to get those little. He would find the crease and back his way in if he had to.
Yes.
That's not Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is not a contact runner. He's not something like that. Bijan Robinson is both a slasher and a power runner. And he's one of the more, he's like a LaDainian Tomlinson, how complete his game is. Like, that's the best player I've ever watched. And that's what Bijan Robinson reminds me of, in having the power, the elusiveness, the speed, the quickness. He has everything, the vision. He has everything you'd want. He's an absolutely dynamic running back. And I think Nick Sirianni, I mean, he comes from a team that had Jonathan Taylor, right? He had, he wanted to use Miles Sanders in a way that makes him a lead back, and it just didn't really work out as well as he wanted. It worked out as best as he could, but not where Bijan could work. And that's why I think you get a guy like that, you automatically are giving him.
There is no way that Howie just signed Rashad Penny and he was like, okay,
they're not.
I just can't look at it like that. Like, yeah. Rashad Penny was 600,000 for the year, but yeah, he only played 5 games last year. He's been a mess with injuries. Like, that's the reason why he was so cheap. Like, Howie has gotten a lot of players this offseason that have had past injuries. Like, this is what Howie does. He likes the low reward, the low risk, high reward type signings. And I think with Penny, it's either going to be a hit or a miss. But I think you need to add another running back. I feel like if you want Penny to succeed, and obviously to add a lot of incentives to his contract, so if he plays well, he gets paid more. So good for him, So I think this is like the no brainer. Like, by the way, we have. For the Philly Shakedown, we have pre-order hats. We have Draft 5 actual hats. I don't know if you've seen them, Tom.
I've seen them. I love them.
All right, we've sold a lot of hats so far. There's a lot of Bijan fans out there that want him drafted in Philadelphia, because once he's drafted in Philadelphia, that hat's not going to say Draft 5. It's going to say Drafted 5. So
Eagles. What happens if we don't draft him? Then what happens?
And then we're screwed.
I wanted to say really quickly to the comment the guy made, that why would if we didn't trust Miles and Bijan? It was I think that the fact was they didn't trust Miles. Either he would break down, or he at key moments like Tom mentioned, he would fumble the ball. So I think in a guy like Bijan, if his pedigree is, hold on to the ball and power through, and like you guys say, slash and dash and catch the ball, then absolutely they'll trust him 100%. Like, Miles' body just wasn't that type of running back. I'll say, like, and if he's being compared to LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, woo-hoo-hoo.
You're a big Chargers fan, so yeah.
Well, I'm not a Chargers fan. I'm just I'm a how do you put it?
Herbert?
I'm a Herbert fan. I'm a Herbert.
I just want to add one more last thing.
Go for it.
Miles Sanders was injured. I mean, we were lucky we got him for a full season this just last year, because we didn't see him play. So another factor these coaches thought was, the more we use him, the likely he will get injured.
Right.
So that's why we have to split off this with Gainwell and Boston Scott, because we just do 100% Miles Sanders. He's not going to make it the whole season. And we need a running back, especially what Tom, you said earlier, and also in Joey, is we don't want Jalen Hurts running all the time. Right. We want to give the ball to a running back, and that's where I'm going to go off Tom right now. This is great with Byron Robinson. I might say, I know his first name wrong. Excuse me. I'm not good with names. I'm going to start off. I can't say it.
You said Alvin Iverson. I know.
I can't say it. I'm sorry. I'm horrible with names. I'll just go Robinson.
Bijan.
Whatever. Robinson.
Think of Dijon Mustard. That's what you got to think of.
Yeah.
And like we haven't seen us as Eagle fans a first round running back since 1986 with Keith Byers. I think I was like one of the first one to realize that. I brought up that subject like weeks ago. I was like, wait a second. I was like, we're getting a running back. North Philly's like, we're not going to draft a running back. My dad was in Philly when the last time we drafted a running back. He lived in North Philly. He lived in a basement. But keep the story short. If we do, that'll change history. I mean, I would love to have a solid running back for the Eagles, and this is a game changer running back that'll get it done. Longhorns.
In another universe, if Bijan Robinson, Jalen Carter, and Will Anderson were all at 10, who would you get?
It's just not even worth it because Will Anderson top 3. He's got Will Anderson's going top 3, I think. And I saw somebody bring up that they heard the Lions were interested in Bijan. And while that might be true, I think the trade of Jeff Okuda only solidifies that Christian Gonzalez is the pick, or Devin Wiggins.
Yeah, the Falcons too, because I know they had interest in cornerback too, so they could have been another team that would have drafted a corner this year as well. So,
and now it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks more like they're going to be interested in Jalen Carter. I mean, or an offensive lineman to protect their young quarterback. So, I mean, I don't know. I think a lot, like we just said, a lot of these teams that aren't in a position to pick luxury are going to pick more high, like the picks you should make in the top 10, like linemen and, pass rushers and quarterbacks. So that's only going to trickle these guys down that we might, never get a shot at a Bijan Robinson again. That's another thing. When are we going to pick 10th again?
Never. Probably not a long time.
Like that would be unbelievable just to snag him up and be like, all right, now we're set on offense. Now we focus on continuing to develop the depth on the D line. And like Joey said, take what we do have, and hopefully Sean Desai has a little bit better of a game plan. And I read really interesting things about Desai, and he has a different approach to disguising pre-snap against quarterbacks to make them think a little bit more, pre-snap, that Jonathan Gannon didn't have that same approach. So I think that's kind of the direction that they wanted to go with Sean Desai, and why they vetted so many coordinators and landed on him is probably because he's a little bit different than Jonathan Gannon, and that's probably what they were trying to accomplish. So that 10th pick, man, don't count on defense so much just because it seems obvious. I think they could throw a curveball in there and really make a splash. So I'm hoping for Bijan Robinson as well.
Jeffrey Lurie said at the press conference, he said the offense was the bread and butter. Like he talked about the offense so much. I feel like they value offense. I feel like they will cater more to Hurts, and like I think they just believe in him so much. And like he got AJ Brown here. Like God knows, like if they're asking him on a player, that they're going offense, or there's a player that they specifically want, if Hurts, likes, wants a certain player here, who knows? But it's a tremendous opportunity. Like you said, Tom, you're not going to have this pick for a while. And like a lot of people are like, oh, well, if you draft a running back in the first round, then like that, well, then you got to extend him, after, 4 years or whatever, 5th year option. That would be the plan, right? But necessarily probably not. Who knows what they're going to do? But our window is open. The more draft picks we hit on, the more cap space we're going to have. And obviously with that, this Jalen Hurts contract seems to be like Hurts is really wanting to make this deal cap friendly on both sides, where the Eagles can move money around every single year. And thank God we have a quarterback that's selfless and is going to do that for this organization, because, some of these quarterbacks, they want to strangle the team as much as possible out of money. Where you can't move anything around, and then you're kind of screwed to have, to make other moves. So I'm glad that's going to be cap friendly for the future. And plus you have that extra 2nd round pick next year from that Saints trade. So you're going to use that year. You're going to kind of spice things up a little bit. I feel I think Howie will attempt to trade for a player in this draft, but I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but I feel like that he will attempt at it, but we'll see.
The NFL draft is later on this
27th.
month. 27th. Okay.
Yeah, it's a couple weeks. So
I'm counting down, bro. I'm counting this shit down every day.
I know, man.
It needs to be tomorrow.
Honestly, I'm more excited for the NBA, but that's just me.
The NBA draft or the NBA playoffs?
NBA draft.
Oh, okay.
I've been scouting those guys for like all year. I love NBA more than football. So.
Yeah, I'm ready for the NFL draft, man. I've been waiting for a while for this, just because of that 10th pick. I mean, the last time that we won a Super Bowl, well, the last 2 times that we were in the Super Bowl, the following draft, we had, the 31st pick in 2005, we picked Mike Patterson, and in 2018, we traded out of the first round completely and picked Dallas Goedert. So this is the first year after a Super Bowl that I'm seeing a team that has a quality pick. I'm like, man, this is. Like, I'm ready for another run. So, yeah, like, count me in for Bijan Robinson, because I think that's the guy that makes the most impact right off the bat. And we'll see about Jalen Carter. But yeah, I'm those are my two guys, and I'm praying one of them lands here, honestly.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Do you see us? And one of the questions I'm going to go back to real quick was this question: where we keep both first rounds. Do we possibly get one of those first rounds and kind of shift it back to 2024 so we have another 2 rounds where we do this 3-year thing where we have 2 first rounds? Do we draft back and say get like Byron Robinson? Possible. Or
You gotta be doing that on purpose.
Right?
or I know. Or do we get this first round pick? Also, maybe a first round pick for 2024, and then maybe get that 4th, 5th, and 6th that we do not have currently this draft.
If there's a team that aggressively wants to trade up and get one of our picks that badly, and they want to give us a first next year, I need to have a second this year. I want an extra second round pick. Like, I'm gonna be greedy. I'm gonna be really greedy. Like I wouldn't mind an extra first round if they don't use the extra second round this year. So if they have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 24, like I want an extra second round pick this year.
That's good. That's a good. I haven't heard that take. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that. I would definitely take another first round pick, obviously. And at first it's like, oh man, we moved back, whatever. But next when the draft rolls around, we're like, hey, we got 2 first round picks again. So I love that that idea. But it really depends to me on who's there, who's available, and who you really think is going to make the biggest difference on your team, and can you get him if you trade back? So to me, it's all about that. It's really about who's there, and it's hard to forecast it. But obviously, I welcome a trade. I'm all for it.
I think you trade to at least trade back. I mean, I would be happy with that, but I would at least try to trade back if they can, if there's a player that they want, or maybe they're missing out on, or maybe the board's not falling right and they want to get, no 4th, 5th, 6th round picks. I think they need to stay alive in this draft as well, and get something back. So I feel like that's I'd feel more comfortable doing that, but I don't know if they trade back from 10. I don't know. It really depends how that.
I think they'll trade back from 30 to win 10.
I think Bijan will be at 10.
Did we do that last year? I don't remember off the top of my head. Like I probably have to look it back. But when we got AJ Brown, did we draft back to get him and then
we just traded the 18.
Traded pick, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe we went. I thought for some odd reason we went backwards on that one. I'm wrong. Sorry.
That's all good. Yeah, another thing about the running back conversation. I know we talk a lot about it, but a lot of people are like, well, you don't want to draft Bijan because you can get Jahmyr Gibbs at 30, but can you? Because you really don't know if he's going to be available. If you pick Bijan Robinson at 10, you just know you have him. But if you pass on Bijan, he goes 16th, say, or 20th, or whatever it is, then the next best running back on the board is Jahmyr Gibbs. And you have the Cowboys, you have a couple other teams there at the end of that first round that can potentially target him. And, you just don't know. So if you really want a running back that you can rely on, then you just have to pick him with your first pick and, worry about everyone else fighting over the rest of the guys. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, I think it really comes down to who's on the board in terms of what we do, and see how it falls and how much they really love a guy, how much they think that a trade back will be worth it. So while we wait 16 days and we see all the stuff Howie Roseman has in store, so I'm excited for it, just to see what he does, really how he does it.
I just can't wait for all the Eagles fans to make breaking TVs for not getting the player that they wanted. That's the most I'm excited for.
Like, even if I don't get Bijan, I'm not going to be like, oh, Howie's a piece of garbage. Like, I'm just.
I know you're not.
Like, you have your guy, and if you don't get him, you'll be upset about it. Yeah. But like, I feel like they're still gonna have a good draft in the first round. Like, I'm not really feeling like I'm not worried about who they're really picking. I'm not really worried about it too much. Like, I feel like the past couple of drafts have been monstrous. Obviously, 2018 was really good. So, I feel I'm not really nervous about it at all. I think we'll be happy with whatever they draft. I think we will.
And y'all remember back in like 2019, 2018, we were all like, fire Howie Roseman, fire. Maybe it was 2020. Maybe I'm getting too far away. We were all just fire Howie Roseman. And then look at our mindsets now. We're like, dude, Howie Roseman, the god.
Got it.
He's a saint.
It's insane, yeah.
when Nick got hired and Jeffrey Lurie had that, it was the inductory press conference, but Jeffrey Lurie went on live stream first, and I remember watching the live chat, and it was like, and it was so funny. It was like fire Howie.
Yeah, dude, even I was. We all were.
I was on my last legs with Howie Roseman. I said, if Jalen Hurts doesn't work out, Howie Roseman has to go. That was my ultimatum for him. Like, let Jalen play, because Howie had to have him, and that's really what set this rebuild, retool, whatever, into kind of motion. And it was Rager. We had drafted Rager, and we drafted Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf. And I'm like, what is going to, like, we need weapons for our quarterback, and we need a quarterback. So get weapons for this guy that we drafted, and if that works, then cool. But if not, then we need to get rid of this GM because he's not going in the right direction. And hey, look what happened. It worked out. So
Yeah. All right. And on this last note, before gotta get off because Randy and I are streaming a basketball game in like 15 minutes. The last thing I'm gonna say is that somehow, some way, if Howie Roseman F's this up, right? If somehow he F's this up, just the wrong thing, I'm telling you right now, the Eagles fans are going to flip. They're going to flip like there's no other if they somehow get, who the hell knows, maybe another running back if Biazon was there. Like, I don't know. Something's going to happen, and we're going to be like, why? And that's going to happen.
Yeah. Like the whole offensive lineman at 10, like, I don't mind it, but I really wouldn't like it.
yeah,
I get why they're doing it, but I just wouldn't. I would really hate it.
It's not sexy, but I get
It's
it.
like, okay, so he's just gonna stand there for the year or compete with Juergens, one or the other. I mean, that's really all I could think of. Who they pick at that pick, but
yeah, I think it would be a little bit of an overkill pick, like to do that again with another O lineman. I think you have plenty of. The thing is, we have a great O-line, and you have plenty of time to develop another guy and pick another guy. And I don't think you need to use such a valuable asset on that kind of player. So I agree. I wouldn't like that. And I honestly, I don't know much about him, but the stuff I have seen, I don't really want Lucas Van Ness that high.
No.
Like, I really don't. So, I think he kind of looks a little stiff. I mean, I don't root against anyone's success, but I don't think I want to be the team to give him a
I don't think so because we got Mariota. I don't think we're drafting a backup quarterback. Maybe like
That's not a quarterback. Oh shit, my bad. No. I mean, no, Brian.
no.
I didn't even remember we had Mariota. I'm excited for Mariota. I think he's a guy that can get in there if something happens for a game or two and be.
And they don't have to switch the whole playbook. And like when Minshew got in there, it's like they threw Minshew into a Jalen Hurts system, and it was just god awful.
Yeah, the minute he got on the move, like running with anytime he had to use his legs, and the play was dead because he can't throw on the run. He has no arm, and he just can't be dynamic as a runner. Like Mariota actually can do some things with his athleticism. So yeah, I'm excited for him, really. I mean, I don't want him to play, but if he has to.
Yeah.
We finally got him, guys. We finally got Mariota.
Right.
Hey, remember what Chip Kelly said? I want to say the quote. Remember when he did that press conference after the draft, Joey and Tom and next shift, and he stood up on the board. And he goes, "Well, it's like we went into a neighborhood with rich houses, and you saw the price, and it was like we can't even step in."
Turned around. Yeah.
I'll never forget that quote. Like, who says something like that? No, he was like, the price was just too high to afford to get Mariota. Well, we finally got him.
But you're getting a backup now that obviously has been a starter, has been a backup, has been injured.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's been through a lot, and I think I thought he was going to be too expensive. I've always mentioned him, but I didn't think for $5 million, it's not bad with incentives on top of it. So I think he's perfect. Brian Johnson doesn't have to do too much with that offense, which is great. Or change too much. So.
I think Mariota is also.
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I was just going to say he's a good teammate and a leader too. I mean, you had Gardner Minshew knocking on the coach's door asking to get the starting job in 2021, and you're going from that to a veteran, like you said, who's been through a lot, and he's not there to do that. He's there to get in there and just make the most of the end of his career, really, and that's going to be helping Hurts and helping this offense. And I think it's a really good pickup in terms of from a mental and leadership standpoint, even more so than it is on the field. So I'm excited for that QB room to come to shape.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, guys. So there you have it. What a great show. I just want to say thank you to Joey for coming on the show
Definitely.
again. It's always fun talking birds with you.
Yeah.
And
Thank you,
shout out
man.
to
Thank you so
Furtheram,
much.
Next Shift,
Of course.
Tom Steaks.
Tom,
And yeah, guys.
congratulations. He's getting married, everybody. Tom, the links in the description. And Next Shift 2, Next Shift, you just got 100 subs. And Tom's
nice.
getting married. Joey Shakes is on his road to 50K. This is a whole great thing.
Oh, I was like, what was that?
My freaking ring light always falls. It always falls in stream. It's happened 3 times at least already on my own.
I want one of those Dawkins jerseys with it signed. I see it in the background.
Yeah,
I got it.
signed.
Yeah.
I met him in 2000.
I'm trying to get the Nick Foles Super Bowl one done, dude. Because man, that looks nice. I was just like,
Yeah.
that's what I want.
So, Joey, you got anything to say before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, no, I appreciate everybody, bringing me on and talking birds and stuff. I think we're all excited, and it's the more we think about, the slower the days every day it comes. So we got a couple more weeks left, and yeah, we're gonna see what happens. It's like the draft is like Christmas. We're opening 2 gifts in the first round, so that's what we're doing.
I don't celebrate Christmas.
Oh, this is awesome. Like, dude, yeah, I have to agree with Joey, man. It's literally like, especially
Really, man.
first round picks.
All right, it's like your birthday. It's like your birthday.
We have to stay up all night to midnight, everyone. All Eagle fans are going to be staying up till midnight.
Watching highlights, and yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is.
We're going to be up all night. The 30th. They're still on the 26th. We'll come back 20 minutes later.
All right, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe. You'll see me and Randy in like about 10 minutes for the basketball game. Nikki Teach will be on with us. So we'll catch y'all later. Have a good night. Fly, Eagles, fly. Wait, real quick. Next week, Philly 500 is going to be on next week. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe next Tuesday, Philly 500. So make sure you like and subscribe. We'll catch y'all later. And